Hello and welcome to Advent of Code, day 2. About 30 seconds, getting ready to get started. Tonight's problem. Very excited about it. Have my Clojure environment set up here. Trying a few new things tonight based on how fast yesterday's competitors were finishing their problems, and we'll see if it helps us out tonight. All right. Here we go. Walk through the door. 1 second. Spreadsheet. Random numbers. Checksum. Smallest value. Third row's difference. All right. What is the checksum in my puzzle input? So go here. Save this. All right. So for each line, I need to produce a value. So I'm going to take each of my numbers and maybe do something like sort them. Yeah, so I can sort the numbers and then do something like get the first and the last of them. That will give me the biggest and the smallest, and then something like apply minus to that. And let's see, it's the difference, and then we have to sum them. So apply minus to that. So then do my special parsing function here. And so we want to apply plus to map, let's see, something like math absolute value of mapping this function here to my input. End of file while reading. Okay. Character can't be cast to number. Oh, all right. Well, so my guess is that my parse function isn't doing quite the right thing. Let's see what we've got. Oh, it's because these are tabs. All right. Well, then, so let's add another case to the parsing function here. Well, actually, we can just probably put tabs in like this. All right. And so we have a number. Would really like to be able to test it on some test cases, but ooh, rank 89. Wow, this is a competitive day. Here we go. All right, so now evenly divisible by values. Okay, that kind of calculation. Row evenly divides the other. The only two numbers, okay, where the result of the division operation is a whole number. I'd like you to find those numbers on each line, divide them. Okay. Interesting. All right. So for each of these, so it's just, we got to find the two numbers where division gives a whole number. Let's see. How can we do that? We could we could take all the maybe combinations, something like this, and then we would have to try them in both kinds of ways. So let's see. So maybe like numbers here, and then this would give us. So we could say like for A and B in each of these, and then. Yeah, that looks fine. And then we can say when maybe like the remainder of dividing A from B is 0, or the remainder from dividing B from A is 0. Then we want to emit, I guess, the difference between A and B, and then change our map to a map cat, giving this different number here. And let's see how that does. Not the right answer. Too high. All right. So we have a minute to try to fix the problem here. So let's give it this example that it provided. This says -6. The only two numbers that are divisible are 8 and 2. So maybe I'm not using rem properly. So if I have rem, I must not be. All right. That evenly divide are 8 and 2. The result of this division is, oh, I see. It's not the difference, it's the result of the division. Aha. Okay. So we could put something like here, like if A is greater than B, then return what happens when you take A and divide by B, otherwise take B and divide by A. This gives us a new answer, 265. I guess we should, can we maybe check this real quick? 4, all right, that looks good. 265. Right answer, rank 81. Hey, all right. So pretty good. Let's take a look at our Advent calendar. All right, it's starting to do some stuff. This is a lot different than these previous 2 years Advent calendars in that it has it looks like some kind of just random kind of setup. I think based on what we're seeing so far, it does. Oh, this is interesting. I didn't realize that it could go back down into the first row. So I'm gonna have fun with this. I wonder if this thing has some kind of puzzle that we need to solve. But okay, let's talk about the problem. And here we go. So this problem is kind of similar to the problem from yesterday in that it's not really something that takes a lot of computation. It's just sort of writing down the solution to a math problem. So what we're given in part 1 is we have a spreadsheet and need to do something for each row in the spreadsheet and then combine those results together. So this is what the input looks like. It's tab separated. And based on the speed that everyone solved their problems yesterday, I wrote kind of a what would I call this? Kind of like a speculative parsing function based on the kinds of things that I might reasonably expect to do with input, where I say, all right, if something is new line separated, well, then I probably want to represent each line as its own element in a collection. And if something, so I think I had spaces here originally, if something is space separated, then I probably want to represent each of those things as their own thing. And these are heuristics, they're not going to always apply, but if it does, then I sort of save that time. And if we look at the leaderboard, then we can see, especially on these early problems, maybe not so much later on, but especially on these early problems, we're seeing that it doesn't take folks much time at all in order to answer the problems. You can see here, yeah, to get the first part took the first person 36 seconds. So 36 seconds to read the problem, understand it, and put it in code. You can't be wasting time writing, like in this case, typing out these characters double parts double just to turn a string into a number, when you know that for problems like this, you're probably going to have to do something like that anyway. So my plan is to try to fit more optimizations like this into my repertoire so that I can be a little bit faster in the future. But so that just sort of covers this this parsing function here. Okay, and then as far as this function goes, so I kept the name from yesterday, this sum, but so the initial implementation was that you just needed to return the difference between the highest and lowest numbers. So there are a few different ways to do that. I chose to, I know that I have a function first and a function last. So what juxt does, a less commonly used closure function, is it takes a collection of functions here and then returns a function that gives you a vector where the first element is what you get by applying this function to the argument, and the second and so on for each of these functions. So for example, if I had something like, juxt of like adding 7 to something and taking the opposite of a number, then and I pass in like 7 to it, then this would give me a vector 14 to 7. If I'm using juxt first last on a sorted thing, then what that gives me, if I just take a bunch of random numbers here, this will give me 20 and I see, because I used it. Yeah. So here this gives me 3 and 100, and then in my implementation I just returned the difference between these numbers and made it incumbent on the caller to take the absolute value here. If you don't take the absolute value, then the problem is that if some of the differences are positive and some of them are negative, then they're going to cancel out and give you the wrong answer in the end. Okay, and then so that was basically how we did the first part of the problem, and then for the second part, which I think luckily for me was a little bit more challenging. I was so if we look at my performance, so it looks like 81 to get, so 89 to get my first star, but 81 to get the second star. So fortunately for me, the second part of the problem was a little bit more challenging because I was able, I missed it originally. I had to wait a minute or so to resubmit. So in the second part of the problem, we are told that on the spreadsheet, there's going to be exactly 2 numbers where one is divisible by the other. And if this spreadsheet was especially large, then we might have to do something intelligent where we sort of maybe pair down the results, or sort them, or consume them in an efficient way. But since the spreadsheet is small, like this, we can do it in a really straightforward way. So Clojure Combinatorics has a function that takes a collection and returns all the combinations of taking things out of that collection. So, for example, if I have the list 1, 2, 3 here, then I call combinations 2 on it. It gives me 1, 2, 1, 3, and 2, 3. All right. So I just used that same thing and then said, all right, rem is just take the remainder, and then just check if either of the remainders are 0. And if that's the case, so I first erroneously had returning the difference, but then reread the problem and saw that it actually wanted what happens when you divide it. And so that's just what I did here. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole problem. So yeah, I felt a lot better tonight. I feel like I'm blowing the cobwebs away, getting back into the swing of things. Hopefully, I will continue to be competitive in these problems. I like this optimization here. Instead of having to do awkward things with the clipboard and everything, I think that maybe if I had an external monitor, then things might work out a little bit differently. I could sort of read the problem at the same time that I had my IDE open here. So maybe I'll see if I can rustle one of those up, and maybe make a better sort of entertainment presentation for the viewers too. Especially if I can maybe find a way to put some nice visualizations in for those longer problems. But that concludes our broadcast for tonight. Thank you for tuning in, and hope you enjoy the rest of your December 2nd.